Most Reverend Father Alfredo Scotti, Order of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Mercy. Alfredo Scotti was born in Palutri, Chieti, Italy, on September 26, 1886. His parents were Giuseppe Antonio Scotti and Maria Nicola Colangelo. While still young, Alfredo asked if it was possible that he might become one of the aspirants to the Mercedarian religious life, and his request was granted. He entered in the Mercedarian convent of Orvieto on March 13, 1901, and 6 months later, on the 26th of September of that same year, he began the novitiate. On January 31, 1903, he made his first simple profession. He was then sent to Rome to the Mercedarian community at St. Adrian to study in preparation for the priesthood. But in September 1905, for health reasons, he was sent to Ponzano Romano, where he continued his studies. Returning to St. Adrian after 2 years, he made his solemn profession on December 20th, 1907, and was ordained a subdeacon in that same month, and deacon soon thereafter. By an order of the Master General, the Most Reverend Peter Armengol Valenzuela, given on March 15, 1908, Deacon Alfredo Scotti left for Mexico City, Mexico, assigned to the house of Belen, where he arrived on the 12th of April. He completed his studies at the Pontifical University of Mexico, obtaining a license in sacred theology and in canon law. On September 18, 1909, he was ordained a priest by the Archbishop of Mexico, Bishop Jose Mora del Rio, in the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe. The following day, Father Scotti celebrated his first solemn Mass in the Church of Belen, which was also his first apostolate and his continuous residence for 28 years. Dedicating himself fully to the ministerial apostolate, he received success and admiration among the faithful, who immediately appreciated his commitment and great zeal. His favorite ministry was with the youth, for which in the years 1925 to 1926, he published the Illustrated Catholic magazine. He was particularly fond of the children to whom he had given a thorough catechetical instruction. The good and lasting effects of this were later seen in the religiosity lived in the life of those souls who were the object of his pastoral care, those who always maintained a gratitude and affection towards their spiritual master, even when he was no longer physically in their midst. No less effective was his action as a Mercedarian consecrated religious. He was appointed superior of the House of Belen, or Mexico City, in July 1914, vicar provincial in 1921, and finally provincial on December 15, 1922, an office he held until 1937. While provincial, he committed himself with fruitful actions to the restoration of the Mercedarian province of Mexico. He also assisted in the reorganization and development of the Mercedarian Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, beginning in 1918, by giving them formation, constitutions, securing for them the necessary pontifical approval, and the aggregation to the Mercedarian family. During the religious persecution that struck Mexico, he suffered very much and had the honor of being jailed for being a priest. Forced to change his name, he adopted that of Antonio Sanchez, particularly keeping the initials of his real name. He also had to leave Mexico City and take refuge in the United States of America for some time. But he never fully abandoned his faithful, whom he always encouraged with his words and with his life of sacrifices and renunciations. The Sacred Congregation of Religious, on July 19, 1937, appointed him Master General of the Mercedarian Order. Leaving Mexico, he came to Rome, where he took up his office on the following August 20th, remaining in this office until the General Chapter of 1956, his having been confirmed in the 1950 General Chapter. This period in which he governed the order was particularly difficult. The conditions of the provinces of Spain, due to their civil and anti-religious war, were in a state of disintegration. But with his physical and moral presence, he was able to give courage and lay the foundations for their reorganization. The Second World War interrupted his plans while he was visiting the friaries of the United States of America, so much so that he could not return to Rome, Italy, until December 1945. This delay, and the consequences caused by this huge worldwide conflict, did not allow him to realize for the Mercedarian Order how much he would have wanted and could have accomplished. Nevertheless, he was able to direct a path of progress by promoting regular observance, studies, and culture, giving impetus to a new field of apostolate within the redemptive action towards captives, and, as he himself had written, quote, trying to support or start all that could have contributed to its greater prosperity, unquote. The delicate situation in which the order had found itself in relations with the Holy See on the question of the Mercedarian Knights, and which had its consequence in the denial of their cardinal protector, committed him to defend the extraneousness of the order from certain abuses found in their appointment, until finally, after so many sufferings, he was able to deliver the joyful news of the appointment of the cardinal protector in the person of Clement Micara on July 29, 1952. This decision placed the order in a more just consideration in the dicasteries of the Roman Curia. In his visits to the provinces, he not only tried to promote the good of the religious friars, but also turned his interest to the Mercedarian nuns and sisters in trying to revive and sustain their love for the order, and to reestablish the spiritual ties that unite all the various Mercedarian institutes into one family. During his generalate, 2 international Marian congresses were held in the church in which the presence of the Mercedarians were particularly robust, and in the order, 2 centenary dates, namely that of St. Raymond Annatus, along with St. Serapion in 1940, and that of our father and founder, St. Peter Nolasco, in 1956, obtaining for these 2 celebrations a letter from the Holy Father addressed to the entire Mercedarian Order. Father Alfredo Scotti also carefully prepared a new text of the constitutions of the order, which he felt was needed, presenting it to the Sacred Congregation of Religious in April 1951, and with the feedback he received, another draft was prepared, which was then sent to the provinces in 1955, in preparation for its review at the following General Chapter of 1956. It was also his intention to provide the General Curia with an adequate venue where students from all the various provinces of the order could live together while furthering their studies in Rome. But the lack of economic means did not allow him to carry out such a project, although the impetus and foundation was laid, if not in part, in starting to raise the necessary funds for this work. After leaving the government of the order, which he served in for 19 years, he returned to Mexico, which he always held in his heart. But, for health reasons, in 1960, he was reinstated to the Roman province, his province of origin, going first to Cleveland, Ohio, and then returning to Italy. He established his home there in Rome, where he spent the last years of his life in prayer and in giving spiritual direction to the people who came to him for hope, especially those from Mexico. He also spent some time in San Felice Cicero and in the student residence of Frascati, where he was living at the time of his death. On the evening of March 9, 1974, he was rushed and urgently admitted for a cerebral thrombosis in the hospital of this Lazio town. Many religious visited him during his illness, The clerics and the master of students, who from the moment of admission to the time of death assisted him with affectionate solicitude and dedication, admired his serenity and joyful acceptance of death, which he had immediately understood was inevitable. He remained lucid until the end, speaking to everyone with his eyes, and with a smile that became more radiant in the moments in which he prayed. He received the last sacraments with a great spirit of faith and confidence in the mercy of Almighty God. He passed away at 8:30 a.m. on March 15, 1974, at the age of 88. 71 years of religious profession and 65 years of priesthood. The funeral took place at Our Lady of Mercy Parish in Rome. All the fathers of the General Curia and 15 concelebrating priests were present at the concelebration, presided over by the Most Reverend General Bernardo Navarro. His body was buried in the tomb that the province owns at the Verano Cemetery. To his affable, understanding, and charitable character, he was able to unite the necessary energy and firmness when the circumstances demanded it. Gifted with a strong personality, he also distinguished himself for particular virtues that adorned his soul: a great feeling of faith and piety, his fervent devotion to the Eucharist and to our Blessed Virgin Mother of Mercy, his fraternal remembrance and prayer for both living and dead confreres, and his filial veneration for the Pope and his great love for the Mercedarian Order. May his figure be an example to the new generations of Mercedarians. Most Reverend Father Alfredo Scotti, Order of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Mercy.